All right, so tonight we're going to review Parasha Devarim, very important parasha because it comes out close to Tisha B'Av, the time where our temple was destroyed, the Bet HaMikdash. Sefer Devarim, as it is known as a book where Moses reviews many concepts, and of course teaches us very valuable mitzvot. But a great deal of what he says involves rebuke, tochacha. It is a book of rebuke, to rebuke the Jewish people for all their mistakes of the past. Hopefully you don't repeat these mistakes. Realize what has happened to you. After all, you're a chosen nation. Very powerful words throughout the whole book. But what's interesting about all this rebuke, you think it makes a difference? When people rebuke, criticize, is everyone listening? Will it have an impact? What does Moshe expect? Especially remember that he's talking about the future generations as well. To his generation, to the people who were still around and alive at the time, perhaps they still recall the miracles and they can, feel that he has a point. He's right. Perhaps I should pay closer attention to what is happening in my life and realize that Hashem is not happy with me, upset with me. Obviously, one can relate to certain things better if he was living at that time. But what about us? What about the future? How will his words make a difference or not? So I was thinking about the following. There have been Indian tribes that did not have any contact with civilizations and that were discovered in various parts of the world, especially in the Brazilian jungle. Now imagine somebody like that who's been disconnected from civilization forever is brought into a city, a metropolis. He would be dumbfounded. He wouldn't know what this is, what's going on, right? Completely disconnect. So the same is true with our generation. Can we relate to the words of Moshe Rabbeinu? Is it possible that we can actually connect with what he's saying, that those words of rebuke will make a difference to us? Because in a sense, we're completely different than his time. We did not witness firsthand those miracles. Even though we believe in them, we were taught that, our parents told us, we have no problem with that, we don't doubt the veracity of those words. But can we really connect to those words? So, how does Moshe Rabbeinu expect that the future generations will actually pick up on these words and be positively influenced by them? So the answer to this question, the partial answer to this question is found in the words of Yeshayahu, in the Haftarah of this week's Parasha. Isaiah the prophet says something very, very troublesome, very, very painful. You definitely heard those words. Yada shor koneu v'chamor evus be'alav. That how could it be that an ox knows its master and a donkey knows who feeds it? Israel lo yada, ami lo yitbonan. How could it be that my people do not know me and does not pay attention, does not ponder upon this, that I took care of them and I still do? So in those words you begin to see that there's a disconnect, and Yeshayahu is wondering, why is it? And it's a very, very difficult idea to understand. How could it be that imagine somebody hits you over your head and you don't look back to see who it is? Most people would look back to see who hit them over the head. But Yeshayahu is asking, how come you don't realize this? Don't you see you're being punished? And you don't look back and ask why? You just continue on with your life? So this is part of the question, is that why people don't relate to the criticism. Why are they so disconnected? So think about the following. What is the difference between an animal and a human being? Here, Yeshayahu is telling us an ox knows, a donkey can figure it out. Why can't we? Human beings, we're more intelligent. So what is the exact difference between the two? The basic difference is, as one great rabbi once explained, an animal deals with situations by instinct. Somehow it has an instinct that tells it certain things. It could feel certain things, it could know certain things, and it's all about instinct. The animal's nature, therefore, is pretty much connected to its surroundings in such a way that it experiences certain things and it knows how to react to them by instinct. The human being does not function that way. The human being has to actually do a ma'aseh. He has to actually do something in order to connect to something. He has to do a ma'aseh. He has to think about it. He has to analyze it. Without that, he cannot connect to it. You don't just connect to something by instinct. As human beings, we have to do something. What is that something that we need to do? Litbonen, as it's called in Hebrew. To ponder it, to analyze it. What is it? Is it beneficial for me? Good for me? What do I get from it? Right? So we have to do a ma'aseh, otherwise we don't connect. We don't easily connect. My favorite example is with certain animals, even lions. Now, you wouldn't approach a wild lion because he can attack, even if he's not hungry. He may still attack. It's a wild animal. But there have been many, many accounts, and you can see videos of it too, of lions that were raised, reared, from the time they were cubs, young cubs, recently born by a single individual who, after they grew up, after they became older, even though they were separated from their, I guess we call them, from the one who raised them, they recognized him after many years have passed, and they rushed to him. And some of them even hugged those that took care of them, those that saved them from some injury. How come they remember? There's a certain connection, as you can see, that even animals are able to have. And that connection obviously formed with time, with the care, with the love, and all that attention that was given to the animal, so the animal bonded. So instinctively, these animals can relate. Not too much is necessary in their part to figure it out. They relate to it, they feel it, they know it. All right, now let's take a look at the human being. How he connects, how we see that he connects. You may have seen occasionally a movie, a very emotional movie, meragesh, and a lot of men, not women, begin to cry. Women always cry. But for a man to cry, it must have been a very moving scene, very emotional. Yes, but wait a minute, sir, why are you crying? It's all staged in Hollywood, in Universal Studios. It's a movie, it's not real. If something is real, I can understand that you're crying, you're identifying with it. But something that is fake, you know it's fake. It's a movie. Why are you crying? What's the answer to that? Something awoke in him. He connected to it. He was paying attention to the details. He focused on it. He did a ma'aseh, as we just said. He did something to connect to the story, to the scene. Oh, there was some connection made that can arouse the emotions in people. We're only human. We are surprised. We are shocked. Right? These are normal things. There's some connection. We heard something. So here, the focus, the attention that we invested into this movie, that was a very emotional movie, obviously brought out all those tears. I wanted to be able to connect with the generation of the Holocaust. I was born after. So how can I connect with it? How can I feel what they felt? How can I somehow sense what they went through? Even though we have videos and pictures, it's not enough. So what did I do? I mean, that was not my only reason to do what I did, but that was part of it, to feel firsthand what it was that they went through. I went to the camps, went to Auschwitz, went to Birkenau, Treblinka, and what did I see? I saw many, many children's shoes. Children who were killed in the camp. I saw a large pile of the ash from the crematorium. I saw their beds, I saw everything. And then when I was in Spain, I saw where the Inquisition took place. I saw the place where they burnt them at the stake. So I did something, and that something, even though I'm several hundred years removed from that, I connected to it. I was able to see it and partially feel it too. Wow, this must have been terrible. And of course, when you read about it, more and more, so you're doing something to connect to it. So what do we see so far? That in order to be able to connect to the Bet HaMikdash, the Churban, the destruction of the temple, we need to ask questions. It's not enough to go to the Western Wall. Today it's beautiful, it's nice, it's a nice square, even though there is obviously something left over. You can see some of the destruction too. Many stones that are strewn over there. That's not enough. And if you see a video in 3 dimensions like they want to show you today, okay, you'll see what it looked like, but that's not enough. You have to read about it. You have to ask questions. And when someone does not ask questions, he has no interest. How is he ever going to connect to it? No way in the world that a Jew will be able to connect to his past history, without first asking certain questions and getting the answers that he needs. Learning about it. So we've come to another important question. If that's the case, that one has to do something, and that something can be questions, then why don't people ask questions? In Pesach, one of the 4 children is Sheno Yodea Lishol. He doesn't even know how to ask a question. And it's a very sad case, because with the other ones who are at least involved asking questions, then you can deal with it. You can explain if they're willing to hear. But the one who's not asking questions, what does it say? Get him to ask a question. Prompt him. Otherwise, how is he going to connect to the Pesach, to the holiday? He doesn't understand. Why do you guys have to eat this matzah for? For something that happened so long ago? Who cares? Why is that so important? And there are people that have this kind of an attitude. This is primitive. This is something from the past. They're not connected at all to it. But wait a minute. Can we get them connected? No, it's not so easy. If they don't want to ask questions, they're not interested in that, then how are you going to ever get them interested? So the question is, why don't people want to ask questions? Why aren't they showing some interest? So for that, we go to another topic. That's the Olympics. I think there's something to learn from the Olympics. The Olympics is a big competition between countries. What is the goal of the athletes at the Olympics? To get a gold medal. In order to get that gold medal, they need to excel in whatever sport that they want to get the medal. Now, as they're doing this, what are they thinking? They're thinking that they want to prove that they're the best. They want to win. They want to defeat everyone else, and they want to come out ahead. So if they don't come out ahead, if they're not in first place, if they don't get the gold, they're very disappointed, even though they got the silver medal, even though they got the copper medal. Makes no difference. They wanted to be first. First, why? Because they wanted to prove that they're the strongest, that they're the fastest, depending on the sport. They wanted to show that they're number one, that they're the best. That's the way it works in the non-Jewish world. Competition. Competition, who's the best, who's the fastest, who gets the gold. If you don't get the gold, what a big disappointment. Now let's take a look at the Jewish Olympics. We also have an Olympics. Life, everyone has a mission. And if we succeed and we do everything right, we get a gold medal. We really do, upstairs. They're proud of us. Now, if we don't get a gold medal, they're going to also be disappointed. But wait a minute, what is exactly a gold medal? A gold medal upstairs only means that we didn't do our best, or we did. If you did your best, you get a gold medal. If you didn't do your best, you don't get a gold medal. That's what it means. It does not mean that you're better than someone else. It does not mean that you have to be the first, that you have to be the fastest. A gold medal means you did your best. So if they're disappointed upstairs, is only because why didn't you do your best? Not why weren't you the most intelligent? Why weren't you the fastest? Why weren't you the richest? That's not our Olympics at all. A lot of that depends on one's mazal, which is a whole big topic. Why certain people are billionaires and certain people barely make it. They're not going to complain. You could have been a billionaire. They don't care about these things. That's not important. If you were first or second, how much money you had, how many homes you owned. No. Why didn't you do your best? So if one does his best, he gets a gold medal. If he didn't do his best, he's maybe going to get a medal. but not the gold medal. So that's the standard in our Olympics, is because we have a unique mission. Did you attempt to comply with the Torah and mitzvot, to realize your mission in life? Did you at least try? Did you do your best? That's what it's all about. So what do we see from this so far? That by us there's no competition. On the contrary, what we're really interested is that everyone should win. By us, we don't have a competition. And do you know that a lot of people in life are disappointed, upset, and angry? Because they feel there's a sense of competition, they have to compete. I think in English they say with the Jones. How come he has this? I want to have that too. And this car, and I want to have this house, and this, and why only him? So that stems from a feeling of competition. But who says that there's supposed to be competition here? This man or woman has a mission, has a certain challenge. You know what their challenge is? Hashem is going to give them a lot of money. And let's see how they use him. How they use the money. And by the way, I don't recommend that you should ever ask for such a challenge. It's a very, very difficult challenge, because the more money you have, the stingier the average person becomes. It's just a fact, because that is his challenge. It's a very, very powerful challenge, what to do with one's money if you have lots of it. Besides the fact that it's going to distract you, it's going to keep you busy and wanting to buy more. Before you know it, you're in your 60s or 70s, and you don't have the same strength that you had in your 20s and 30s. Oh, what now? Life is almost over. What did I do? What about my real mission? I don't even have any medals. I'm supposed to have medals, gold medals. I could have. We all have that potential. So people don't realize there's no competition really here. Everyone has his challenge and everyone has his mission. Stick to yours. Focus on your own. Connect to your mission. Don't be distracted by what you see in the outside world. So how do we get help to be able to succeed in our mission? Hashem gave us the Torah. Hashem gave us the mitzvot. That's the manual of instruction. He gave us the Bet HaMikdash, the temple. But unfortunately today, we are without a temple, without a Bet HaMikdash. So we're definitely weaker. We are not able to connect in the same way that that generation could have. Imagine seeing miracles in this temple. There's a special mitzvah to go up Aliyah L'Regel 3 times a year to the temple. Why go up 3 times a year? Yeah, if you live in a very far corner of Israel, you want to see what the temple is all about. You want to see the service. You want to see the Kohanim, the priests. You want to see some miracles. You're going to see some miracles there. It's a holy place. So a Jew who was a farmer living in Tiberia gained a lot from going to Jerusalem several times a year. But we don't have that today. Today we're just so far removed from the Bet HaMikdash and from the great prophets of the past that we don't even realize what we're lacking. They had so much going for them. And so we're back to the question, wait a minute, they had so much going for them, how come they sinned? How come they allowed the temple to be destroyed? So we're coming back to the same question again and again. How come they were disconnected? What didn't they do right that kept them disconnected? Because apparently they were disconnected. A person who's connected cries, we said, when he sees emotional scene. Therefore, if he hears the words of rebuke, he says, okay, I'm sorry. They didn't even do that. Imagine, they didn't even do that after hearing Yirmiyahu telling that the temple is about to be destroyed. So it's strange. It's very hard to understand. Now, we cannot judge them because they were greater than us. But we need to ask the question because we need to know what we have to do so that we don't make such mistakes. So how come they were disconnected? Okay, so let's ask first about the reasons that brought about the destruction of the temple. What brought about the destruction? So you may have heard that the second one was sinat chinam, baseless hatred. Even the great rabbis did not really have respect for each other as they should have. Baseless hatred means that it's not real hatred, it's just baseless. For no real reason, people are not empathizing with one another, respecting the other, caring about another. That's what baseless hatred means. You may have heard that they were not respectful enough of the Torah. They did not learn Torah for its real sake. There are various factors that contributed to the destruction of the second temple. First temple was something completely different. Idolatry, murder, immorality, and so forth. But we're closer to the second, so we need to focus a little bit on what happened to the second, because we are told that if we don't rebuild the temple, it's indicative that that problem is still around. Otherwise, why hasn't it been rebuilt till now? Apparently the problems of then are still around. So we need to know, because we are responsible. Mashiach is coming any day right now, and the way he comes, whether it will be a painful messianic era at first or not, will depend on if a large percentage of the Jewish people repent, do teshuvah, and correct their mistakes. Because if they do, it will be miraculous, it will be like a woman giving birth, but if not, it will be like a C-section. A C-section is also giving birth, but it's an operation, it's surgery, right? But who wants that? If you can have a natural birth, it's much better. Hopefully quickly, but it hasn't been quick. It's been very long, very painful, a lot of suffering throughout the exile that we've been, the Roman exile. So something is wrong over here. So if we just say that the fault of the generation is baseless hatred or lack of respect for Torah, we're not saying a lot. You know why? Because if you're a good doctor, if you're a real good doctor, you're going to treat the symptom or you're going to treat the root of the problem. You can't just treat the symptom if you don't eliminate the root of the problem, because it may come back. You have to go after the root. What's causing this infection? Not just treat the infection. That's very nice of you, but it may come back. Is it possible to get to the root of the problem? And the answer is yes, but that's something that was never done, or at least not enough. They've never gone to the root of the problem. So what's the root of the problem? For that, if you look at the Navi, at the prophet of this week's Haftarah, where the prophet describes the whole situation leading up to the destruction, you see that something is wrong. Something is just not right. So several important points stand out. The first important point that stands out that the Navi describes, and I'm trying to be a little bit brief about it, is that you're bringing God a minchat shav. A minchat shav means a fake sacrifice. I think that would be a good translation of it. It's false. It's not sincere. It's not real. You can bring a sacrifice, and you can have a lot of kavanah. You're sincere about it. You ask Hashem for forgiveness. You really mean it. You communicate with Hashem. They brought it in a ritual way. It was shav. So the prophet says, you think you can fool him? What you're doing is bringing something that is shav. It's fake. Like they say today that everything is fake, fake news, fake jewelry too. People are fake. Everything is fake today. More fake than it was even before. So there's a lot of fake. So when something is fake, it's obviously not substantial. It doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't go anywhere. People can fake each other. They smile. The Persians are very good at that. They smile. Devarim, yeah, and they don't really mean it necessarily, but that's part of being courteous. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's not necessarily sincere. Some people kiss each other because that's the formalities, but do they really mean, do they really care? That they're so moved that they want to give you a kiss, that they want to give you a hug? No, it's just a certain formality. It's not real. But this is the way people are. Sometimes they want to express their feeling of gratitude to you, and they smile and they shake your hand and they say thank you, but do they really mean what they say? Or is it just, okay, I want him to be happy, let me say thank you to him. A lot of people don't really mean the words they say. So here the Navi is telling us that the sacrifice which was a way of connecting with Hashem, connecting with the Holy, it's something spiritual. Here you have an opportunity, and it was shav. It was not for real. How bad is it? The best way to understand this in our time is through sports. Have you heard of athletes that were caught with drugs in their blood? And they test them. What happened after they were caught with drugs? They disqualified them, right? Why? Let him take drugs. So he can run faster, not get tired. That's what he wants to do. He wants to not get tired, perhaps. He wants to have all that adrenaline, right, to excel and to do his best, and that may help him. Because the Olympic Committee will tell you, we want real athletes. We want a real demonstration of one's talent and skill. We don't want fake stuff. This is artificial. Taking drugs is fake. It's not the real person. I think that's a good explanation, no? Otherwise, why not take drugs? Take a lot. God forbid, not you, but let them take. What's wrong? Let them show off what they can do with all the drugs. And the community is going to say, no, this is a real competition about, people's strengths, talent. And if they take drugs, it's not real. It's fake. And we don't want fake sports. We want real sports. So that's what's happening also in our world. Sometimes things are done, but it's fake. It's not really meant. It's not done with kavanah, with the proper intent. And obviously Hashem knows the truth. He doesn't need a machine, to detect if we're lying or not. He knows exactly what's in our mind and what's in our heart. And He communicated this through our prophets, that I don't like what they're doing. It's not for real. So what does Moshe do? Going back to Moshe. So Moshe, before he passes away, realizes that this is a big problem. It will always be. We're only human. Human beings have that weakness, that they're not always steady in their friendships. Some people let go. Some people are not devoted. Some people are not consistent. But this is very dangerous. Very dangerous if a Jew is not consistent in his tradition, in his observance of the mitzvot. God forbid. Then the whole nation will suffer. And that's what we've had. Problems all over the place, whether it was during the Inquisition in Spain, whether it was being expelled from England, regardless. It didn't just happen by chance. Oh, they're anti-Semites. People like to blame. Well, wait a minute. You just stop to think for a moment that it's not completely their fault, even though they are to blame, of course, for kicking us out. But this is all from above. It originates from above. Hashem is sending us a message. Otherwise, how is He going to communicate to us in a time where there are no prophets? He's going to make an earthquake every single time, shake up. What is He going to do? So Hashem has various ways of communicating to us that He's upset with us. He's not happy with what we were doing. So Moshe Rabbeinu is concerned. He sees the future, and he is concerned that they should not be lax and easygoing about the mitzvah, that they should take it very, very seriously, and they should be observant after he leaves this world. Who's to say that they will be able to be as impressed as they are now when they see the open miracles? What will happen when they don't see open miracles? So that is why you will see that Moshe, what does he do? What can he do besides rebuke? He says, listen, you may not take easy to rebuke. You're going to have many prophets that are going to rebuke you, and I know you won't listen to them. So listen carefully to what I'm saying. Don't let go of the Torah. Study Torah. Review the Torah. Why review the Torah? Well, we were talking about sports, right? What do athletes do in order to make sure that they are able to succeed, whether it's a soccer match or whether it's in the Olympics? They train. They train. They review, right? Everything that they're doing. They want to get it right. The steps that they're going to take. How are they going to win? There's sometimes strategy. They want to prepare themselves for the big day. They want to win. They want to do well. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you need to review Torah. Torah is not something that you learn in school and you let go of it. And you forget about it. That's it. It's on the shelf. I studied that. Not important anymore. Do you know that even with doctors and with other certain professions, they make them take a course once a year to refresh what they learned and to keep up with the latest technology, the latest medicine, the latest information. You have to keep up because it's changing. Medicine is changing. There's certain professions that are changing. Don't you want to keep up? A dentist needs to keep up with the new materials to make a crown, new tools with which to operate. So it makes sense. The Torah too, you need to review it. Without reviewing it, you're going to forget. But it's not so much about forgetting information here, which is bad enough. It's disconnecting. The way a Jew becomes disconnected is because he's disconnected from Torah. It's very simple. Now you may ask me, well, wait a minute, I know people who study Torah the whole time and they're crooks. Yes, I didn't say that the Torah will protect him in every possible way. People still have free will. They have an evil inclination. They have this weakness that they like other people's money. Right? People have different weaknesses. What about people who get angry? They're very temperamental. Speaking about astrology, there are certain signs that by birth They're inclined to be more temperamental than others. They get angry very quickly, but they calm down. Then you have others that get angry very rarely, but whenever they do, it takes several months till they calm down. You have all kinds of people. We need the Torah to guide us, to refine our character. The Jew needs the Torah in many, many ways. We're supposed to be a light unto the nation. So how are we going to be guided if we don't follow the Torah? So the Torah is a big help. Moshe says, okay, make sure that you review it, that you study it. Without it, you should know, without Torah, there's no reason in the world that an individual should hear any rebuke. Why should I listen to him? He may think he knows better than the guy. He may not be interested. Why should I come to a class? If one does not learn Torah, he will see no reason for it. Not only for the Torah, no reason to accept the rebuke. Who says he's right? Prove it to me. That's the first thing they do in their way of defending their actions. Prove it to me. Well, wait a minute. First come and learn. Are you willing to come to class to learn? And I promise I will prove it to you as best as possible with time. No, I want proof right now. Otherwise, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say. Wow. Do you ask your doctor for proof? Or do you take his medication willingly, even though he may not have had straight A's when he was in medical school? He barely passed, but he's wearing that white gown. You trust him, right? You go up on a plane, you fly on a plane, do you ask the pilot to prove that he knows how to fly a plane? You trust him. You trust so many people in life. Things that are very, very risky. You trust. But you don't trust your forefathers. They were willing to sacrifice their life. No, you call them primitive. You think you know better than them. So look at the attitude of all these people. It's interesting. It's strange. Why should someone think that he's smarter? How much could he have learned in his 30, 40, 50, 60 years? Does he know everything? The problem is that the evil inclination is very, very powerful. Very powerful. And with people who have a logical mind, he's going to use logic to attack everything. I need to understand it logically. Prove it to me scientifically. I have to feel it and sense it. If I can't see it, I don't believe it. But wait a minute, can you see electricity? You know there's electricity. You see what it does. You can't see certain things. And even things that are physical, that can be seen, you don't have the vision that eagles have. Human being is limited in the same way that your vision is limited. You can't run 100 miles an hour. You can't even run 35 miles an hour, barely, right? The same way that your speed is limited, your eyesight is limited, your brain is limited. You have to accept certain things, be'emunah. People don't like to hear that. Emunah means faith. I don't believe anything blind. Blind faith, how could that be? I want it to be proven to me. So you see where man puts up a barrier. It's not easy, and the Jew is stubborn too. Add stubbornness to the fact that he's going to resist. It won't be easy. Now you can get a feel for why the prophets had such a hard time, even though there were miracles. Prophecy, that means they heard the word of Hashem. You need more than that. There were false prophets too, which actually made things worse. People were confused. The false prophet says, I shouldn't be worried. There won't be destruction. The Babylonians will fail, or the Romans will never come here. Oh yes, fake news. There's a lot of fake stuff going on. And that's the power of the impure forces. The impure forces are in constant competition with the holy forces. There's two sides, always competing for each other. And here we're told, make sure you choose the right side. And of course we'd love to, but we live in a physical world. In the physical world, I call it the home team of the impure forces, because it's physical, it's not spiritual. So in order to tap into the spiritual world, into your soul, you have to connect to the Torah, you have to connect to Shabbat, you have to connect to something spiritual, otherwise you won't even know that you have a soul. So people are totally disconnected. And Moshe Rabbeinu warns us therefore, make sure that you study Torah all the time. And that is why the rabbi said something incredible. The rabbis tell us that Hashem said, I wouldn't have minded as much if they continued, my kids continued, going against me in not observing my mitzvot. I wouldn't have minded as much as long as they study Torah. Why? Don't you mind, don't you care that they should observe your mitzvot? Had they at least continued to learn Torah, Ha'or shebatorah eta machzira otam lemutav. The light of the Torah will bring him back. So if a Jew would learn Torah, the light of that Torah would bring him back to his senses. He says, what am I doing? It would speak to him. It would rebuke him. One's wife may not be successful in rebuking the husband. I'm not going to listen to you. You're a woman. I'm a man. You don't know me. All kinds of reasons why a man will not accept a woman's rebuke. One's parents also. Not always. A friend? Not always. Look at the mirror. Look at the Torah. The Torah will speak to you like looking at the mirror. And you'll be able to see your blemishes, hopefully, like you see the blemishes when you look at the mirror. So therefore, with Torah, the rabbis tell us, be careful that you review them, because noach le'abdam. It's just as fragile as klei zchuchit, as glass. Glass is fragile, it breaks. Torah is fragile, it can easily be lost. If you don't review it, you may lose it, you may forget it. But worse than that, what did we say before? What's worse than forgetting information? Becoming disconnected. Moshe therefore reminds us, stay connected to the Torah, because this way you'll stay connected to the mitzvot, you stay connected to Hashem. If you stop for one day even, it disconnects, even one day, he's disconnected. Yeah. Take a cell phone. People know about cell phones today. Even if you don't use it, but it's not charged, you're going to lose some of the battery power, the fact that it's on. Right? Leave the lights on in your car. Don't even use your car I'm told, for a number of weeks. You're going to see that the battery is going to lose its charge. You got to recharge it. So that is what we do when we learn Torah. We recharge ourselves and we become connected. And if not, chas v'shalom, that connection becomes weak. Okay, so now we've come to the point that needs clarification. If that's the case, that we need to learn Torah, didn't they learn Torah? There were great rabbis during the Second Temple era. What did we say? There was baseless hatred. They learned Torah. Something else is missing. What did we say before? Don't blame the lack of Torah, even though it's important. Don't blame baseless hatred. Go after the root of the problem. So all of what we just said is definitely a problem, but it's not the root. So now we want to know what the root is. Where do we begin? It's not with Torah. Even though Torah is important, but it's not the root. What's the root? So the same prophet in this week's Parasha that speaks about how we're disconnected, how we don't ponder what's going on with us, how we don't realize that Hashem is taking care of us, that same prophet says, you know what you have to do? Limdu hetiv. Limdu hetiv means teach yourself how to be kind to others. Wow. Teach yourself how to do good things to others, how to be kind. What does that have to do with anything? Of course, he's telling us you were not fair, you were not just, you were dishonest. Of course, he means all of that too, but there's a bigger and more powerful lesson in those words. Limdu hetiv. Teach yourself to do good to others. What is the lesson over here? The big lesson is, and this is the source of the problem, this is the root, that people do not think of others, they think of themselves first. That's where it all begins. What did we say before about competition? Each one wants to win. You should want everybody to win. Every Jew should win. Every Jew, as the Torah calls us, we're like the stars. Each one is a star. Everyone is special. Everyone should win. Because in the end, who do we want to win? Hashem should win, right? We want Hashem to win. We want His name to be glorified all over the world. So if that's our goal, why should we care about our own honor? So we want everyone to win. Everyone is important. How do we know that this is a problem, that people think more of themselves? I'm going to give you just one example and you'll see it right away. I don't know if you have heard this, but anybody who was here for many, many years, more than one have told me as follows. In the early 70s, I wish I bought the entire block. They had the money, because real estate went up in price a lot. And they only bought one or two homes. I wish, and I could have, I should have bought the whole block. Or you have another situation, a guy just sold his house for $2 million. I should have waited a few more months because I could have made a few $100,000 more. People feel, disappointed with themselves because they could have done better. Sir, but wait a minute, what about the buyer himself? Doesn't he deserve a good deal too? You should be the owner of the whole block. What about other people? They also want to have a home. You should have all these houses for yourself. So look how people are thinking in feeling bad that they didn't do more. But wait a minute, doing more means that somebody else would have had less. So you could have more. Of course, they don't think about it because they're first thinking about investment. I should have invested more, I would have made more money. But they don't realize that deep down, this reflects on them. What you're basically saying is, you would have wanted to have it even though other people needed a house in that block too. You wanted it all for yourself, but what about everybody else that ended up buying those homes? They don't deserve to have a home there and to make it in life and to invest and earn a profit? What about them? You see what I mean? So you see from all kinds of examples that people focus more on themselves and not on others. And here the prophet is telling us, teach yourself, train yourself to be good to others. Anyway, so how do we deal with it? One of the first halachot that you will see in Shulchan Aruch, when you open up the Shulchan Aruch, one of the first ideas that is expressed there, in the very beginning, is that a Jew should train himself. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I always have God in front of me. Wow, right at the very beginning. And it's a very important idea. Without too much elaboration, that one should always focus that Hashem is in front of him. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid, David HaMelech says, I put Hashem in front of me. I place him right in front of me. He's always close to me. What's the significance of that? The significance is that we're told that in order to stay on the right track in life, we have to think of Hashem being as number one. This is who I work for. He's my boss. I'm his servant. I'm not working for myself. I'm not. We're not really working for ourselves. We're here for a job. And who is our boss? Hashem. We are his servant. So in the end, we want him to succeed. We want our boss to succeed. We want Hashem to succeed. So it's not about our personal success here. It's about him. If we want him, if we want God to succeed, then we have to do things in a different way than we're used to. Not focusing on, what do I get out of this? What am I going to gain from this? Is this to my benefit or not? What do you care? This is for Hashem. You see how this will make a difference? Imagine somebody now bringing a korban. You think he's going to get a sacrifice. You think he's going to bring a fake sacrifice? If he's trained his entire life that everything that he's doing is for Hashem. You go to sleep, you can train yourself that way too. Why am I going to sleep now? Because I want to regain my strength so that tomorrow morning I'm able to pray with proper kavanah, I'm able to study, I'm able to do the mitzvah properly. That is why I'm going to sleep. Even though you're going to sleep because your body is tired, don't think like that. You're going to sleep because Hashem wants you to regain your strength so that you should be able to serve Him properly. So that could be true with eating too, anything. This is called the Shem Shamayim, do something for the sake of heaven. Even though it's physical, even though it's for yourself, it's not a mitzvah per se, it's something for your own physical need, you can transform that to being something for the sake of Hashem, for the sake of heaven. And that makes a big difference. The Kabbalists tell us that the more a Jew thinks that way, the more Kedusha, the more holiness he absorbs. And the more he will be excited and motivated to do the mitzvah, the more connected he will be. We're talking after all about connection here. All it takes is to train our mind, why am I doing this to begin with? So people think they're making money so that they can take it to the grave. You're not going to take it to the grave, okay? So what are you going to make the money for? So that you can have a 10,000 square foot home, so that you can leave it to your kids? Your kids possibly are not going to like you anyway, right? They may be upset at you for some other reason, so you're going to leave it to them? There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't be so obsessed with the money, but people are still obsessed. Money is today the idol. It's actually been always an idol, money, but it drives people crazy, and it ruins their life. And we know that, we laugh at this, but we don't realize that sometimes we get caught up in that. The more trust in Hashem one has, the more faith, the more connected he is, the easier it is for him to be forgiving about it and not think about these things. But you'll be surprised. There are a lot of people who claim that they're connected, they pray, they go to the mikveh every day, and they still lose it with the money. That's their weakness. They have a weakness. Obviously, they need to learn Torah, and hopefully one of these days the Torah will speak to them. Come on, you're making a fool of yourself. You already have enough anyway. What are you doing this? You know what? Why don't you sit down and learn more Torah? You worked for the past 50 years of your life. You're now 70s, in the 70s. Why don't you sit down? Other people retire and go on a cruise, non-Jews especially. They play golf. You have the Torah. Go to a class. Spend more time listening to lectures online. You know, involve yourself in some voluntary work in helping the needy. So many things that we can do with our precious time. People just kill it, or people just use it for their own selfish needs because they haven't trained themselves to do for others early on. To ask of them to do that now is tough. They're thinking, oh, when will I retire so that I can rest a little bit? Sir, you're going to rest in the grave. You're going to sleep for a long time in the grave. That's the place where you sleep. This is a olam asiyah, the Kabbalah calls it. This is the world of doing. You got to do. You got to act. If you're not going to act, you're not going to accomplish. You're not even going to get a copper medal, a bronze medal. You're not going to get any medals. You realize that the upstairs they're going to give out medals? You're going to be ashamed. And they're going to be disappointed. And all of this because you were not connected. You did not learn Torah. So, step number one, Shivit Hashem L'Nidit Tamid. In order to be able to think of helping others, we're told, put Hashem before you. The moment you wake up, Hashem is before you. In other words, He is my boss. He is the one I'm working for. One who works for himself, one who preoccupies himself with his own personal needs, can easily fall into the trap of baseless hatred. Sinat Chinam. Because how does Sinat Chinam happen? When people don't think of others, they're not sensitive of others, and as a result of that, they fall into this trap of not caring about others. That's what baseless hatred is. And what does baseless hatred lead to? Pilugim, divisiveness, machloket, and hatred, and all kinds of problems, where even family members sue each other in court. Family members, they're the same family. They don't see each other, they don't go to each other's semachot, festivities, they don't talk to each other, most of the time because of money. So you see what this is leading to. If you think of yourself, then there's a lot of trouble ahead. If you don't think of yourself, if you train yourself early on, I'm here to do for others too. Of course I need to take care of my body, I need to take care of my family, of course. But don't see that as your primary focus. Remember, you're working for Hashem, and Hashem wants you to do these mitzvot. Help out with the poor, and be kind. And thinking this way, this will help us, hopefully, be more sensitive towards others. Just to finish up, we must remember that the Churban Habayit, the destruction of the temple, is really an indication that man is destroyed. Man destroyed himself. Man has fallen apart. Man who had the image of God on him, Tzelem Elokim, ruined it. He removed it. The way he acted, the way he misbehaved, he basically is not better than an animal in many, many ways. That is what the prophet is saying. How come the ox and the donkey know better than you? So what is he really saying indirectly? You're no better than them. On the contrary, they have an advantage over you. They know their master. What's wrong with you? So the destruction of the temple is a very, very painful and sad event in our history, and should be a wake-up call. There's something that we need to do to ourselves. A lot of people look at the world and think, oh, what do I got to do for this world? First, work on yourself. Fix yourself. Realize what you need to do first on yourself before you think about what you need to do for others. So that's what Tisha B'Av is for. When we today mourn for the temple and have all these customs of mourning for Tisha B'Av, what it really is supposed to do to us is to enable us to leharher, to contemplate, to ponder, to do teshuvah. And what should we be asking ourselves? Okay, let me see. Almost a year has gone by. I'm right now mourning for the temple. Which what does that mean to us? It means that our mission has failed so far. Yeah, it means that we're not where we could be potentially. So let me look back at this year, 1 year at a time, not close to 2,000 years. That's just too much to grab. 1 year at a time. Let me see. Did I make any progress whatsoever? Did I get any medals this year? Well, in what area? Let's analyze area number one. Shlom Bayit. If you're married, you should ask yourself, how was my marriage this year? Did I get a gold medal? Well, I guess we have to ask the wife. I don't know if we'll get a fair answer from the man. Sir, did you get a gold medal for living peacefully and in harmony at home? were you a good husband? And I have to be honest, to get a gold medal in Shalom Bayit is not something easy, because men and women are so different that they may have an occasional disagreement. Did you at least get a silver medal for Shalom Bayit? Did you treat your wife nicely? Did you go out once in a while? Did you spend time together? At least a silver medal. What else? How was your prayer and your study? Did you get a gold medal for your study? Did you pray every day, 3 times a day? Did you go to the synagogue all the time? How was your charity? What kind of a medal did you get for giving charity? What kind of a medal did you get, or did you get at all, for doing chesed, acts of kindness? So even though this is not Rosh Hashanah Kippur, Tisha B'Av, we're mourning about for the second temple, but we're mourning for the destruction of that temple, which we just said is the destruction of the human being himself. So this is a time to think, wait a minute, what have I done to rectify those problems? Did I get any medal whatsoever in those very important areas? People are not going to think that way. People are not thinking about the destruction of the temple as much. Just like if they see a movie and they don't cry at all, even though everybody else may be crying, because they're not connected to it. Therefore, it comes as no surprise that people are not even paying attention to what is happening in the world. So many things are happening today in the world. We know Mashiach is coming. We see things are going in that direction. But if you ask the average individual who's not connected to it, says, oh, Mashiach can come a long time from now. I don't know. I hope he comes. What do you mean you hope? Don't you realize, don't you feel it? Aren't you ready to go? Come on, where's your suitcase? In my earlier years, I actually had a suitcase where I showed my kids, I'm preparing for Mashiach. As soon as I hear he comes, I'm taking it with me, and we're going. And I meant it. It wasn't just symbolic. It was a way of teaching them this idea that we look forward to his coming, and we're ready to go as soon as he comes. Otherwise, people are disconnected. What does Mashiach mean? So he comes, so we move to Israel, then what? The Bet HaMikdash is rebuilt. What does that mean? So disconnected that they have no idea what it means. And then the dead will rise. So many things are about to happen. Beautiful things, great things, miraculous things that people are totally unaware of. Why? Because they're disconnected. So, as a result of this disconnection, people are not prepared to receive rebuke. If you criticize someone today, a family member or a friend, they're not going to listen to you. They're not paying attention. What you say will not fly anywhere. So what needs to be done? There's basically one thing left to do. Even though we've been talking about learning the Torah, and we've been talking about reviewing the Torah, and about connecting with all of this, and about having Hashem before us, all of this is very, very true, because that is the source of the problem. People don't put Hashem before them first. People are not necessarily going to be motivated to do acts of kindness to others. All of this is true. But what has to happen first in order to get them motivated to want to connect to all of this? Today, the best way to describe people, especially today, is that their heart is made out of stone. Have you heard that expression? A heart made out of stone means that it's not sensitive. People see people dead in the street. Oh, they saw many people killed. That's all they hear about in the news. Every other day people are being killed by crazies. And if it's not by crazies, there's wars. So death, pain and suffering, people are no longer sensitive to it. So if they see it all the time, they hear it all the time in the news, you think they're going to identify it with it? No. Well, another person died. Oh, it happens every day. People are ill, people are killed, people die in all kinds of ways. The heart today is a heart of stone. And we're told that that's exactly what's going to happen right before Mashiach comes. This lack of sensitivity. So what's missing is something that will soften that heart, to convert that heart of stone into a heart of flesh. What can be done? After all, the heart of flesh is the one that cries. Remember in the movie? So if it's a heart of stone, it won't cry. So what can be done? I very much encourage people, ask questions. Get people to ask questions and to talk about these topics. And hopefully impress upon them that this is important. Share with them a lecture, or have them come to a class. Somehow motivate them to connect. Even though it's not a very strong connection at first, it's at least a push. We have to get that heart that is totally not sensitive to become sensitive again. How are you going to do it? They're not going to listen to any rebuke. They won't be impressed. You're going to tell them, oh, okay, it's nice, it's interesting. What's going to impress them? We got to get them to learn the Torah. We got to get them to do it on a regular basis so that they can recharge their batteries, so that the neshama can get the upper hand against the evil inclination, so that they can be strong, so that they can fight against this impure forces out there. So this unsensitive heart is a big problem, because that in his own heart, the person's own heart, is like a Churban Bet HaMikdash. It's destroyed. It's unfeeling. It's not sensitive at all. So the best thing to do is to get him to ask questions, and that is why the prophet ends with the words that we say in Necha, Nachpesa derachenu v'nachkora. The only thing we have left to do that may help us is let's examine our ways. Let's investigate what this is all about. Let's ask our forefathers. Let's look back in previous generations and ask ourselves all these questions. People need to ask these questions. People need to investigate about their Judaism, about their roots. This is the maaseh that the prophet says you need to do. You're not an ox. You're not a donkey, hopefully, that you're just going to do it automatically by instinct. You have to do something. You have to initiate. If you initiate, God will help. We have to initiate. We have to do a maaseh. And that maaseh has to involve asking questions, learning Torah, and hopefully all of that will enable us to connect to Hashem, to connect to the reality, to connect to our mission, and to merit B'ezrat Hashem the Geulah very soon. Amen.